Which sitcom character was the worst human being ever? I just finished High Mem for the second time and noticed a lot of things. This will be a long one. Lily from High Mem. Allison Hannigan is a great actor for pulling off a character like Lily. Actually each one is pretty hateable, but Lily is the worst. A bully, a troublemaker who terrorizes her classmates, manipulates Scooter and uses his emotions for him. Grows up, has no talent whatsoever, becomes an incompetent preschool teacher who can't teach, and even yells at kids at some point. Obsessed with becoming a painter, not even an average one, dumps Marshall to go to SF. Ted was 100% right to call her a bitch for leaving BC. She leaves without even saying a word to her friends, just completely fucks off. And then, OFC can't make it as an artist, comes crawling back to New York like the pathetic bitch she is, doesn't apologize for leaving and coming back like nothing happened, interferes with Marshall's date and makes her look like a lunatic. And guess what? After all that, she doesn't keep back from insulting and yelling at him. And then, goes deep into a huge credit card debt, doesn't tell Marshall about it until it's too late. After the fight she proposes to divorce on paper, fully knowing that Marshall won't accept that and just agree to pay the debt. And you think she stops there? OFC not. Doesn't keep back from fantasizing about cheating on Marshall, most the time right to his face. Manipulates her friends and interferes with their relationships and plays God to them, especially Ted, causes many of his relationships to end in bad terms. And, claims to be the alpha of her relationship with Marshall, BCYTF not, he won't say anything anyway. And then, when Marshall throws like a party in the house with the environmentalist, obviously she can't be there for him, tries to fuck off once again, but comes back. BC even she herself knows she can't pull it off a second time. And, as Barney pointed out once, Marshall is a tall, strong, muscular, successful lawyer and a great guy overall, and she doesn't even remotely deserve a guy like him. And just having a vagina doesn't make her worthy of him. But does that stop her from claiming to be the settler of the relationship? Hell no. Other than all of that, she's a big pile of shit who constantly ridicules, judges, looks down, bullies, insults, manipulates, gaslights and yells at everyone around her, cries like a baby pig when anyone says anything to her, runs away from confrontation all the time. Lily adds little to nothing to the show, and it would have been way better if she just stayed in SF. I was a newlywed when the show was on, and at that time, I thought Deborah was a harpy cunt. In fact, that with King of Queens back to back was what I dubbed the bitch wife hour. As I aged and grown in my marriage, I realized Marie is what made Deborah a harpy. I never loved that show. When I watched it, it annoyed and upset me because I knew several people like those characters in real life. You should watch Kevin Can Fuck Himself, you might get a kick out of it. A lot of the answers here are caricatures, but the most evil, selfish, and manipulative character I've seen in a sitcom that isn't the comic relief of the show is Lily from How I Met Your Mother. Like she can't keep a secret to save someone's life, she manipulates people to do exactly what she wants. She goes into debt behind her husband's back, leaves him for 3 months just because of her own selfish goals, and then expects everything to be fine when she comes back. Barney is an evil asshole. But he has an arc, and he gets over his insecurities and tries to commit for once, and we are shown that in times of need Barney is always there for his friends, and when his daughter is born he immediately gets his shit together. But Lily is never shown to really regret her actions in any meaningful way, and if Marshall wasn't so forgiving, Lily probably wouldn't still be part of the show. Ted also has some nice guy moments or just selfish and pretentious moments. Susan from Friends. Had no problems with sleeping with Carol, even though she knew Carol was married to Ross. Referred to Ross as the sperm donor. Attempted to keep a father from his son. Was always vitriolic and sarcastic. But I'm a lesbian so it's okay, the same morals don't apply. Apparently she was based on actual friends of Kaufman and Crane. One has to wonder. Did they hate them? You know, honestly? This one. I don't blame her or Carol too much for the whole cheating thing. BC, I can't imagine being queer in the 90s. But she is an actually asshole to Ross even when he's understanding about them. Sure, is he upset? Yeah, I would be too. But he's trying. I don't give Ross any credit except for this storyline. It's a strange world to navigate, your wife being gay. But he tries. He's allowed to hate Susan, and Susan assumes it's because she's gay. But it isn't. It's because she fucked his wife in their home knowing good and goddamn well Ross was trying. He consented to a threesome, and it isn't his fault the other two parties weren't truthful. He still walked Carol down the aisle, he still was there for her during her pregnancy. He tried. And Susan never really gave him a chance even though she was the one fucking his wife. I really tried not to hate Susan, but when she convinced Carol to redact Ross's last name from Ben, that's where I lost it. It's Ross's kid much more than yours, you bitch. His wife cheated on him while pregnant and he's still trying to be supportive as possible to her in her private life, understanding that things have changed now that she's come out of the closet. He also wants 50/50 custody for Ben, so he can grow up in a functional family. After all that, you, the woman with whom Carol has cheated on Ross, dare to even suggest that Ross's and Carol's kid should carry not his, but your last name? The fucking audacity of this bitch. Every time I watch S1E2, with the scene in the doctor's office, I get so infuriated when Susan says, "But it's my baby too." Like no it's fucking not. Carol could have always dumped her ass and Susan still wouldn't have any claim over Ben like Hacks Jade. I hated her as well. She tried to take his right of naming his own kid away, like she had any say. She tried to take over parenting from the beginning, and I also blame Carol for letting that happen. It's why I hate Carol more. She cheated on her husband but it's okay because she's finding herself. Gets with the affair partner. Treats her husband like crap for not being okay with all of this. Forces the affair partner's name on the baby and disrespects the father. Treats the father like a sperm donor. Keeps baby away from the father in favor of affair partner. Would pretend to be nice but if you actually had even an inch of respect in your body, you'd put Susan in her place and tell her to back the fuck up. You'd not put her name on the kids, you'd still treat Ross with respect as your baby's father. Yes, considering that was the great love story of the series, it really wasn't substantial. Lily told so many lies to Marshall and she abandoned him in such a horrible way, then there was a question mark over whether she would have come back if she'd had any talent. Plus I don't understand why she couldn't create a balance between being a schoolteacher in a relationship and being an artist. As a lesbian there were so many things said in that show that made me uncomfortable and were pretty yuck. I know it was the 90s but ew. Carrie Bradshaw. Honestly, that woman judged everyone but God forbid someone as much as questioned anything she ever did. She was a cheater and always had a million reasons why her being absolutely horrible to her partners wasn't a bad thing. Got mad at her friends when they didn't cheer for her when she was sleeping with a married man. Blamed Miranda for her ruined wedding as if she didn't do literally everything against Big's wishes. Never took any responsibility for her own fuck-ups. Was a cheater. Treated Aiden terribly. Outed an elected official's kinks after they broke up. Got mad at a friend for not wanting to lend her tens of thousands of dollars for a down payment after she spent all her money on shoes. Was an overall terrible person. Ross, Friends. End of thread. Marie in Everyone Loves Raymond. I've always said that with a few small cuts, a musical change here and there and the complete removal of the laugh track and you could turn that show into a terrifyingly accurate psychological horror story about what it's like living in a family ruled by a malignant narcissist. I've enjoyed hating characters in shows before but sweet Jesus that character makes my skin crawl. Right. When Marie stands up and interrupts Robert's wedding. Everything I do comes from love, it gave me a chill. When my brother got married to a girl my mother didn't approve of, she went to the wedding service but stalked out of the church without a word and went home, leaving my brother, his wife, our relatives, and her relatives cold. And when my other brother got married, he didn't even invite her. So she kind of ruined both of their days. I love villains a lot. Some of my favorite characters are villains. I love hating them. Robert Kinsey from Stargate for a serious example. The gang in Archer or It's Always Sunny to laugh at them. But dear sweet gods, of what little I watched of Everybody Loves Raymond did I absolutely despise Marie with every fiber of my being. And not in a fun way. She made me so uncomfortable. I've never been able to watch that show because of how much she reminds me of my grandmother. My parents thought that show was awesome. They loved it. No doubt because they saw it as confirmation their behaviors were okay rather than a mirror for them to learn from. My father particularly loved Frank Barone's line, "If your children don't hate you, you're doing something wrong." Well, he died with his daughter angry at and not speaking to him. So I guess mission accomplished.